The horse's hooves beat a steady rhythm on the dry earth, kicking up golden dust as Russell followed the narrow trail through cottonwoods and mesquite. Evening pressed down, the sky bruised with violet streaks, cicadas droning their mournful hum. He'd ridden this path countless times, each ride silent, unremarkable. But tonight, a raw, thin sound pierced the stillness, a child's cry, carried on the heat of the dying day. "Mama, please." The words scraped like a rusted blade. Russell reined in his horse, heart thudding. At first, he thought it was an animal, a calf lost in the dusk. But the cry held words, desperate and broken. He dismounted, boots crunching brittle grass as he tracked the sound. In a clearing, the sight stopped him cold. A woman lay crumpled in the dust, face tilted toward the fading light, her body battered until she barely seemed alive. Her dress was torn, streaked with blood and dirt, one arm twisted beneath her. Clinging to her side was a girl, no older than 6, hair tangled, cheeks streaked with tears, her small arms shielding her mother's broken frame. The girl's storm-gray eyes snapped to Russell as he approached, wide with fear. She pressed tighter against her mother's ribs. "Don't hurt her more," she gasped, voice trembling but fierce. "Mama's been beaten 100 times. She'll never heal." Russell's throat tightened. He'd seen cruelty, men whipping horses, wives cowering under hard hands, but this cut deeper, slicing through the armor around his heart. He knelt slowly, hat brim shading his face. "Easy," he murmured, voice rough but soft. "I'm not here to harm." The girl studied him, suspicion hardening her small mouth. "They all said that," she whispered. He kept his hands open, dust clinging to his sweat-damp skin. The weight of his gun pressed at his hip, a reminder of what men carried, but he made no move for it. His gaze shifted to the woman. Her breathing was shallow, each inhale a fragile tremor. A dark bruise stained her jaw, her lips cracked from thirst. Life flickered in her, faint as a dying ember. He reached for her wrist, cautious. The girl flinched but didn't stop him. His fingers found a pulse, weak but steady. Relief eased his chest, though the weight of what it meant settled heavy. "Who did this?" he asked quietly. The girl's lip quivered. "The settlers. Said Mama owed them. Papa's gone. They beat her and left her here." Her words dissolved into sobs, her small body shaking. Russell felt pity stir, heavy with responsibility. He wanted to walk away, as the world often demanded, but the girl's trembling hands held him fast. "I can't leave you here," he muttered, more to himself. The child blinked up. "You'll take her. You'll be gentle." He gave a firm nod. Every step. With care born of hidden tenderness, he lifted the woman's frail form. She stirred, a faint whimper escaping, but didn't wake. The girl scrambled after, clutching his coat as if he might vanish. His horse shifted restlessly as he eased the woman into the saddle, her head lolling against his shoulder. The girl climbed up, squeezing between them, her fingers gripping the reins she couldn't guide. The sun sank, painting their silhouettes in crimson. Russell tightened his hold, steadying them both. His chest grew heavy, not with their weight, but with the certainty that his solitary life was shifting. The trail stretched dark, shadows lengthening like fingers across the land. Cicadas fell silent, leaving only hoofbeats and the woman's uneven breath. The girl leaned into him, her tears dampening his coat. Russell's eyes swept the horizon. The path home was long, dangers many, but he knew he wouldn't set them down. Whatever debts had brought this ruin, he'd taken hold of them now. The cabin stood weathered at the prairie's edge, its boards worn by wind and sun. Russell carried the woman inside, her faint moan swallowed by the dim interior. He laid her on his narrow bed, jaw tightening at her injuries, bruises on her neck, welts across her back. The girl, Nora, stood close, clutching a ragged doll, her eyes daring him to falter. He met her gaze, then built a fire, sparks catching in the cold hearth. Heat crept into the room, softening the chill. "Fetch the tin cup," he said. Nora obeyed, bringing it with both hands. He filled it with water, dampened a cloth, and gently wiped blood and dust from the woman's face. She flinched but didn't wake. Nora whispered, "Her name's Isadora." Russell nodded. "Isadora. She'll rest here tonight." Nora's gaze softened, and she curled up in a chair by the fire, rocking her doll. Outside, faint laughter from town carried on the wind, a reminder of cruelty's reach. Russell stepped onto the porch, scanning the starlit prairie. Somewhere, the men who'd done this slept easy, believing themselves untouchable. His jaw tightened, but he made no sound, vowing silently, no hand would touch her again. By morning, Isadora stirred, her eyes unfocused, lips cracked. "Why here?" she whispered. "Because the ground's no place for you," Russell said. She closed her eyes, ashamed. "I'm trouble. They'll come for me." "For her." "Rest," he said, laying the cloth on her brow. "Talk can wait." He kept the fire alive through the night, listening to her uneven breath. Nora murmured in her sleep, once crying out. Russell sat watchful, hat low, the weight of his choice settling deeper. Days passed. Isadora's strength returned in fragments. By the third day, she stood by the window, shawl clutched tight, gazing at the prairie as if measuring her escape. Nora clung to her skirts, silent but watchful. When Isadora swayed, Russell steadied her, guiding her to a chair. She flinched, then let him. "I shouldn't burden you," she whispered. "You're breathing," he said. "That's burden enough to prove you belong." Her eyes burned with unshed tears, but Nora's face lit with a flicker of trust. Russell taught the girl to ride a pony, her laughter rising fragile but growing. Isadora watched from the doorway, a warmth she feared to name spreading through her. In town, whispers followed them. "Debtor's widow," they sneered. "She'll ruin the cowboy." Isadora stiffened, but Russell's steady stride silenced shouts, if not murmurs. At the mercantile, she offered to work, her voice trembling. The shopkeeper smirked. "Debts don't vanish with a needle." Russell paid for supplies, his silence heavier than anger. Back at the cabin, Isadora's shame spilled out. "They're right. I'm a mark against you." He stopped, voice like steel. "A mark's on the man who swings the fist, not the one who bears it." Her chest hitched, shame loosening its grip. That night, Nora climbed into Russell's chair, whispering, "Will you always protect Mama?" He nodded, a vow settling like stone. Word came of debt riders in town, claiming Isadora. One evening, she stood by the fence, fear lining her face. "They'll come. Let me go before it ruins you." "You walk out there, you're alone," Russell said. "Is that what you want Nora to see?" Tears fell. "I don't want her to see me shamed." "Then let her see you stand. Not alone." The air shifted. Hoofbeats thundered into the yard. 3 riders waited at the gate, the leader's voice cold. "We've come for what's ours." "Turn back," Russell said. The man's hand hovered near his gun. "She owes. She owes nothing." Nora's voice broke through, trembling. "Leave my mama alone." Isadora stepped forward, fierce despite her fear. "Look at me, not her." Russell stood beside her, calm but unyielding. "You've seen what happens when men push too far." The leader spat, retreating into the dark. "This ain't the end." Inside, Isadora held Nora, whispering comfort. Russell watched the horizon, knowing the riders would return. But something had shifted, Isadora had stood, Nora had spoken, and he hadn't moved. By the fire, Isadora's needle lay forgotten. She met Russell's eyes, shame battling hope. "I've brought you trouble." "You brought me reason," he said, kneeling beside her. His hand covered hers, warm and steady. You don't have to be whole, Isadora. Just be. Tears fell, not of despair, but release. I'll walk with you, she whispered. He slid a silver band onto her finger, a quiet vow. She pressed her forehead to his, tears wet against his cheek. I'll walk with you. The fire burned low, the night holding them close. Outside, the world remained harsh, but within, a covenant was forged, not with trumpets, but with small vows beside a dying fire, where two broken hearts chose to heal together.